Hey everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino, back for my post-market wrap-up. Today, I'm not going to say it today, and there's a real reason for that, and I want you to bear with me. Monday, August 13th, 2018. So look, it is possible that in the video that I did earlier today, I might have went a little off the deep end. I did not mean seriously to make fun of anyone, but I'll tell you what gets under my skin. People unable to use their own intellect, relying on whatever source out there that they believe is telling them the truth. But what we need to start looking at here is a human toll. What's going on here? I want to look at some real world events and try to put a perspective on, well, if people get their wish. Again, there's a lot of people out here who believe that the right thing to do is hyperinflate the debt. We're already hyperinflated. I mean, it's beyond anything we've ever seen. I've explained this to you multiple times. The debt bubble is the greatest threat to humankind, and I am being deadly serious when I say that. Greater than a nuclear exchange. When the debt bubble pops, we are going to suffer a massive loss of life around the world. Now, I want to use again some real world events to prove this point here and what people can expect. So be careful what you wish for here. Let's start off with a brief summary of this market. Today, stocks finished lower across the board. Gold got hammered. Silver got hammered. Cryptocurrencies fell under pressure as well. This is what I would expect to see, I'll be honest with you, at the beginnings of a meltdown, because we've seen this before as well. The knee-jerk into the dollar causes other assets, certain kinds of assets, to suffer. You understand? Now, it seems to be no secret now. The Turkish Central Bank is at least going to attempt to bail out Turkey, possibly with help of the IMF. Look, if you recall, and I'm going to say it again, I've explained this to you. Last time we bailed out banks. This time we're going to bail out countries. But let's again look at the bigger picture here and why I'm disturbed and why I can't say this has been a lovely day, because it hasn't at all. Let's take a quick march back in time, not too far, to the collapse of Venezuela. A South American country here which suffered an economic collapse. And just as of last year, these people here were forced to go to the zoos and slaughter the animals in the zoos for food. They ate dogs, they ate cats, rats in the street. Violent crime skyrocketed, and people suffered, people died. Okay, this is the human toll of an economic collapse. Nothing like what would happen with the collapse of the United States of America underneath the debt bubble. Let's talk about what's going on right now. Turkey. It's being described as a currency collapse, an economic collapse. So what's happening to the people over there? Yesterday, the people of Turkey were being told to cash in their gold to support the lira. A very desperate move. What's happening over in Turkey right now? It's very simple to deduce. As the currency devalues like it is now, people want to get rid of it. They want to get rid of it as fast as they can. So how do they do that? They rush into the stores. They buy whatever they can with whatever purchasing power is left. So the stores get cleaned out almost immediately. That's number one. That is going on right now over in Turkey. What we can expect to happen as we move forward with regard to the economic collapse in Turkey, regardless of now, I mean, they're way behind the curve here. You got central banks stepping in. You got the IMF possibly stepping in. Again, this is an event, in my view, that was created on purpose. It's so sad here because, again, We bailed out banks, and we're going to bail out countries. It's all about the relentless acquisition of debt in perpetuity. This has the potential to sweep the world. And I'm not saying this is the event that's going to melt down the system, but if it does, these are things that we can expect to happen. So right now, that's what's going on over in Turkey right now. The currency is plunging. This morning, if you recall, the Turkish lira bounced and then it just dropped. So people are stuck holding the bag. So they don't want to hold these bills that may be worthless. So they're out there, they're rushing to the stores, they're filling their cabinets if they're not prepared already for a full-on economic collapse. These people over there can expect crime to skyrocket. Murders, deaths, suffering, starvation. Starvation like we saw in Venezuela just recently. Now, there's all this talk about what's going on here in the European banks. The European banks, our banks here, are insolvent. Now, let's talk about another real-world event, what we can expect to happen here. What will happen here if people out here get their wish. That is, have President Trump hyperinflate the debt, and then all of a sudden, watch the entire system melt down, because that's the grand plan, and then get rid of the Fed, which is only one central bank among hundreds around the world. So that can't possibly happen. But anyway, let's just unfold this scenario here. So let's say people get their wish. What would be the immediate effects right here? Understanding that the dollar is a unit of debt. You don't even own it. It's owned by the issuing central bank plus interest that they print out of thin air. The first thing that's going to happen here in an economic collapse is we're going to get a freezing of the credit markets. No transactions. We've seen this before. It happened last time. So what does that mean? Well, as the currency begins to lose value, we can't, again, we witnessed this, but not to a degree like we would in a full collapse, like a lot of you wish would happen. So this is what I'm outlining for you here. Just like happened in Venezuela, just like it's happening in Turkey, right here in the United States, the same scenario would unfold. People would have these bills, watching inflation just kick in, the value of the currency evaporate hour by hour. People are going to rush to the stores and clean them out in a matter of hours. There will be nothing left. There will be nothing in the supermarkets. There will be no food. There will be no baby formula. There will be no gasoline. You will lose your job immediately. Businesses will shut down. Why? Because they can't transact. You understand? The credit markets froze in 2008. And what the central bank, the Fed, was able to do by massive capital injections was unfreeze the credit market. But in this kind of a scenario, if we really were to face this event that a lot of you want to happen, and probably will no matter what, unfortunately, looking at what's happening here in the world, it's party over. It's literal party over. So what I'm trying to do here, and it's way too late. I know it's way too late. It should have been dealt with a long time ago, but it wasn't. It's very, very sad here that we have now entered a phase of this that I believe is absolutely irreversible. The potential for this thing to sweep the globe is growing. Again, it's all about things that we don't even talk about anymore. Credit default swaps, collateralized debt obligations, say that 3 times fast. The insolvency of the European banks, the insolvency of our banks, our institutions where you keep your cash here. Unless you have it in your hand, you have nothing. Look what happened to the people of Turkey just yesterday. They were told to turn in their gold for lira, and the lira has melted down. Now these people have got nothing. And I told you what's going on in Turkey as we speak, as I am sitting here. The human toll really should bring a tear to your eye. It almost gets me choked up thinking about what's going on here. And I got the same way when Venezuela collapsed over there, and they were going to the zoos to, get animals that they had to eat. These people, they had no choice. They're eating rats and cats crime, violent crime. That's what's going to start happening over here. The debt bubble is worse, has the potential to unfold worse than a nuclear exchange. People are going to have the potential to turn into savages. If people go to the store and there's no food, what are they going to do? They're going to start resorting to crime. They're going to steal, cheat. I can't feed my kid. What do? Well, you know what? The guy next door, the lady next door, they have something I need. And when those hunger pangs start to develop in their stomachs, what do you think they're going to do? Sit idly by? Let their kids starve? Let themselves starve? So what I'm trying to outline for you here, very simply, is a real life scenario. We just witnessed it in South America. We're watching it unfold here. We can't sit by idly here and allow the system to melt down without a fighting chance. If you are one of those that are really hoping that this entire thing is going to melt down in a worst case scenario, like I just said, because again, that's what you want. If you believe that Trump's plan is to inflate the debt greater than it is right now, just to melt down the system, this is what you can expect. Don't believe that you're going to be sitting nicely in your house like this and go to your job and go to the store and everything's still going to be there. There's going to be people in the streets rioting. They're going to break out the military. The military will control the streets. They'll sweep everything, and you cannot fight back. You don't have the power to do it. How do we know that? We witnessed it in South America. We're going to see it here over in Turkey and Europe when the stuff really starts hitting the fan. If in fact, and again, this is all just they're trying to figure it out right now, the exposure that the European banks got slaughtered today. Deutsche Bank fell another, I think, almost 4%. So once it is realized the exposure that these banks have through the mechanisms of collateralized debt obligations, credit default swaps, which is the main issue, what's going to happen? How do they unfreeze the credit markets when world central banks have already created a financial freaking Frankenstein that's going to swallow the earth? You included, no matter what side of the aisle you sit on. Look, I'm not sitting here beating up on President Trump. I have already conceded that the man has done things for our economy that are good. However, he's done a lot of things for our economy that are very bad. He has continued to feed the beast. And I don't blame the guy because, again, look at the scenario I just outlined for you. We can't grow out of this, and we can't borrow our way to prosperity. I just want you to think about these things. Think about the human toll. I know right now you don't care, especially if you live here in America, because it's not affecting you directly. But if what's going on over there, or what just happened over there in Venezuela, focusing on what's going on right now, because this is the biggest issue. The European debt crisis was never fixed. The European debt crisis, I mean, if this has shown us anything, not only does it exist, but it's gotten monumentally worse. Nothing was ever fixed here in the United States as well. The human toll here is simply something I have a very difficult time even thinking about myself, because I'm in the same boat as you. I do not want to see this unfold in a worst case scenario. But unfortunately, it looks like that what is going to happen, that's what a lot of you seem to want to happen. You don't want to sit back and try to fix the issue. And I think personally, we are way beyond that point of fixing a damn thing anymore. I've been trying to warn people, I don't know now, for the better part of a decade about how this is going to unfold, and now it's starting. It's starting now. And the potential here, again, is huge. We bailed out the banks, now we're going to start bailing out countries. It's the truth. Who's going to bail us out here in the United States? What are we going to do? If our central bank literally goes under, if all the world's central banks, first of all, they've maxed out the world. There has got to be some type of a new system instituted, and I've explained to you how it would work. And unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of suffering before this new system will start to function, and many, many people right here in America are going to die. They're going to lose their lives as this transition takes place, and it might be you. So be careful for what you wish for. Be careful about who you follow, what you believe might be true. Use your own intellect. I would be willing to bet that you are a lot smarter than you even think you are. If you were just to sit back and put a few things together and say, hold on a minute, maybe Greg has a point here. Maybe I should be a little more worried than the mainstream financial channels or the mainstream media is telling you, because we've seen that before too. Anyway, I hope I have made some kind of sense to you. And look, I'm going to get going. I know this has been long. If you think this has been important, if people need to hear this, please share it. I'd really appreciate that. See you in the morning.